So it's important to look at this.
Okay.
The amendment was going to give us 1.29 billion.
Okay.
Now,
put all of that together.
Yes, the amendment was going to give us 1.29 billion.
Okay.
Now, the amendment is going to hit you because if you earn whatever income tax you are going to pay, you would realize that starting from next month, it is going to go up. Yes. Of course, there's the excise duty amendment. That is going to hit at people who are producing, exporting, etc. But the one I want you to be really worried about is the growth and sustainability levy.
Okay.
That's going to give us 2.2 billion. Right? Remember that the excise duty amendment will only give us 450 million. But let's go to this. That's where the problem comes. And the problem is huge. 5% of profit before tax is going to be paid by all these institutions, banks, non-banks, insurance companies, the telcos, the breweries, the inspection companies, the bulk oil distributors, and the oil marketing companies. Now, I want you to remember this. Already, truly, this is the list of the companies that pay the most tax in Ghana. What someone did was to look at the companies that pay the most tax in Ghana and say, on top of whatever tax they're paying, I levy them 5% of all their profit before tax.
Okay.
But the key thing is that there's the law of unintended consequences.
Right.
You've already gone through your domestic debt exchange program. The banks, the non-banks, the insurance companies, they are suffering disproportionately from this domestic debt exchange program to the point where we are asking for recapitalization. We think some of them may be insolvent. In fact, there have been estimates by certain professionals who even think up to 9 may be insolvent already. And you are levying them another 5% before tax. On top of last week, increasing their capital adequacy ratio from to 14%. There's something wrong here. And we must be seriously concerned about the health of our financial sector. But let's go on. Now, the productive sector. We keep talking about the productive sector. What do? We say 1% of all their gross production will be levied. This one is not about profit. 1% of all the value that they produce will be levied. It will affect the mining companies. It will affect upstream oil companies. Maybe we don't feel sympathetic about these companies. But I beg you, this one is the catch. For the rest of you, anybody who is not in this category, whatever you earn, the government is going to take an additional 2.5% of profit before tax. Every single Ghanaian company, every single Ghanaian enterprise, every single Ghanaian sole proprietorship, 2.5%. So let nobody be deceived. This current
this financial, how do you call it?
Revenue enhancement,
right,
is not only from the banks. They are suffering. Maybe me, I have to go and deal with my own issues at Delex. But if you are a paid worker, your income tax is going up. If you are a business, your income tax is going up.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is the bottom line. So you saw Joe Jackson doing some analysis of the 3 revenue bills which has been passed by Parliament as of last week, Friday, when Parliament was rising. Tonight, we're going to have a look at that. It's been in the media space. I'm going to play that video to you again. When I come back, I would have my guest seated in the studio. And tonight we are doing a very practical analysis of the entire bills that have been passed from the tax expert or the tax aspect. And we'll be looking at the traders also, how this is going to practically impact their businesses or impact their businesses. You want to stick and stay with us? This is the Bottom Line. My name is Kwesi Afri, and of course, we are coming your way live from our studios here at Reach in Accra. And of course, this is the best business show. The Bottom Line will say business at the speed of thought. I'll go for a quick break. When I come back, I'll play that video again for you. Take your time, look at the analysis of each of the bills that have been passed, how Joe Jackson puts it, and then we'll come back straight into the discussion. You may want to send in your comments via the WhatsApp line, which is on screen, 0241 569 408. 0241 569 408. Just comments, concerns, and how you view all of these bills. We'll come back into the discussion, and I'll try as much as possible to get your concerns across to my panel. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
So it's important to look at this.
Okay.
The amendment was going to give us 1.29 billion.
Okay.
Now,
put all of that together.
Yes, the amendment was going to give us 1.29 billion.
Okay.
Now, the amendment is going to hit you because if you earn whatever income tax you are going to pay, you would realize that starting from next month, it is going to go up. Yes. Of course, there's the excise duty amendment. That is going to hit at people who are producing, exporting, etc. But the one I want you to be really worried about is the growth and sustainability levy.
Okay.
That's going to give us 2.2 billion. Right? Remember that the excise duty amendment will only give us 450 million. But let's go to this. That's where the problem comes. And the problem is huge. 5% of profit before tax is going to be paid by all these institutions, banks, non-banks, insurance companies, the telcos, the breweries, the inspection companies, the bulk oil distributors, and the oil marketing companies. Now, I want you to remember this. Already, truly, this is the list of the companies that pay the most tax in Ghana. What someone did was to look at the companies that pay the most tax in Ghana and say, on top of whatever tax they're paying, I levy them 5% of all their profit before tax.
Okay.
But the key thing is that there's the law of unintended consequences.
Right.
You've already gone through your domestic debt exchange program. The banks, the non-banks, the insurance companies, they are suffering disproportionately from this domestic debt exchange program to the point where we are asking for recapitalization. We think some of them may be insolvent. In fact, there have been estimates by certain professionals who even think up to 9 may be insolvent already. And you are levying them another 5% before tax. On top of last week, increasing their capital adequacy ratio from to 14%, there's something wrong here. And we must be seriously concerned about the health of our financial sector. But let's go on. Now, the productive sector. We keep talking about the productive sector. What do? We say 1% of all their gross production will be levied. This one is not about profit. 1% of all the value that they produce will be levied. It will affect the mining companies. It will affect upstream oil companies. Maybe we don't feel sympathetic about these companies. But I beg you, this one is the catch. For the rest of you, anybody who is not in this category, whatever you earn, the government is going to take an additional 2.5% of profit before tax. Every single Ghanaian company, every single Ghanaian enterprise, every single Ghanaian sole proprietorship, 2.5%. So let nobody be deceived. This current
this financial, how do you call it?
revenue enhancement,
right,
is not only from the banks. They are suffering. Maybe me, I have to go and deal with my own issues at Delex. But if you are a paid worker, your income tax is going up. If you are a business, your income tax is going up.
Right, so the discussions have actually started on here from the video, and we are back here in the studio. This is the bottom line. Let me introduce to you my guest before I do go on, and we begin the discussions right away. Of course, in a discussion like this, you expect that we have a tax expert and then somebody from the trades union. So we have the public relations officer of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Mr. Joseph Paddy. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Your viewers and your listeners.
And we're happy to have you tonight.
Yeah, we're happy to.
And then a tax expert who is also the executive director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, Geoffrey Okansi. Geoffrey, good evening. Thank you very much for joining.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome to the studio. We're happy to have you. Let me begin with you. And you had not asked the question even before we came on air. Now, how much are we looking at? 4 billion Ghana cedis? And we say yes. You think there are other means we can raise the amount you're looking for?
Well, someone will ask, what's the situation now? We are in an economic crisis situation. Government has suspended external debt service payment. That is why. What again do we want to know? We are undertaking domestic debt restructuring. That's another signal. You ask me again, what's going on? We are begging for debt reliefs, and debt cancellation is another signal. We introduce e-levy with the hope of cutting down some of our costs with the revenues that we generate, and then also use those monies to propel development as we were promised. We also looked at raising some 3 billion from the IMF. These are the signals. We have introduced these 3 new taxes. These are the signals that show that we need some monies to run the economy. How did we get here? Somebody will ask. You know, I'll come back to whether we'll get the money, but then how did we get here? High government expenditure. Government spending was high. Increase and continuous corruption was another factor. The slow pace at collecting property rates, rent taxes, night and dawn economy, the informal sector, areas where there were positives that we could collect from there. This slow pace has also cost us a lot. There was also slow and limited expansion of a tax base, promoting industrialization. You remember, it's always been said that we need to go into production rather than also expanding and also concentrating just on taxation. Then also, poor targeting of pro-poor policies. I mean, some of the pro-poor policies were not supposed to go for everybody else. I mean, it should go to who needs it more. And everybody has been asking sometimes, why don't we just properly target it to those who really need it? Something like free SHS. Right from start, the Minister of Finance told you that, look, not everybody should benefit from this one. And somebody says, who should benefit and who should not? Let me ask humbly, do you benefit from the LEAP project? Do you benefit from LEAP?
No.
Why? Because you are not a poor person qualified to go under that one. And that means any pro-poor policy should be properly targeted. So you have to save some money. And so these are the things, but let me tell you what. These 3 taxes, there is a positive around it. Actually,
I'll come back to that. But I want to come to Joseph, and when I'm back from Joseph, I'll come back to all the points you have raised one by one, and I'll ask a question, and we will take it from there to the taxes which has been introduced. But let me ask you, how are you taking this? 3 new taxes? I mean, people from the trade.
Yeah, my brother, disappointed. One, we are extremely disappointed in Parliament. Because as it stands, and we think Parliament are not working for Ghanaians. They are working
Parliament, both sides, both sides. Both sides of Parliament.
We won't say it is MPP who pass it. We say it's Parliament who pass it. So we are disappointed in the sense that the Parliament is supposed to be working for Ghanaians. And if almost about 90% of Ghanaians are saying the timing is wrong, the timing is bad, AGI is complaining, Ghana Chamber of Commerce is complaining, Chamber of Mines is complaining, even medical association are complaining, Guta is complaining, almost your stakeholders who you depend on them for your revenue are saying the timing is bad because where we find ourselves now, already we are burdened. Cost of production in the country is extremely high.
When has the timing ever been right?
Yeah, at this
for taxation.
Yes.
And he is a tax expert who will be telling us when it comes to matters of taxation.
He gave us analysis.
When has the timing
he has given
been
analysis
right?
as why we got to where we are now. So something was done wrong. Yes. So we say timing is bad because at this point in time, all that businesses are looking for a tax cut rather, so that when we grow, then you can get the needed revenue. As I'm talking to you now, the traffic that we used to have at the port has declined. Even Gapua called us last Friday, and they were asking us that importation has declined drastically. They used to do about over 100 containers a day, but today I can assure you they can't do more than 10 containers. And this is where
the Ghana ports and harbors
and this
cannot do more than 10 containers.
This is where
this is coming from you as an authority.
Yeah,
from the traders union.
I went personally. I went to the
port. And you are saying?
I'm saying I went to the port.
That Gapua cannot do.
I will send you the letter. The letter they wrote to us last Friday. They said we should come, but they said a decline from last year, 2022, July, till now. There's a drastic decline in importation. And they want to find out.
Of about 100 containers in a day?
They do more. They even do more than that.
To 10 containers in a day?
Recently, I went, the port is empty. No traffic. We are losing traffic to our neighboring countries because costs of doing business in the country is already high. And we are adding on more. And all these taxes that they are bringing, at the end of it all, they will impose it on the final consumer. You remember once upon a time, the previous government came out with some tax on transaction, on banking tax, about 50% on VAT. And we said it's a new center. You know what? The banks, they were saying they wanted to get a profit. The banks should give them a little of their profit. But at the end of it all, the banks were passing it on to the consumers. And we are saying all these taxes we are introducing, the targeted group, at the end of it all, it will be passed on to the consumer. Already, all those we are talking about, the shishas, these things that we're talking about, already there's a proposal for that. There's a program for that. Their HS code is different because their tax rates are high. You see, the reason is that they want to bring some restrictions.
Reduce the importation of those products.
Yes, because the tax rate is already high. So why are you now introducing another layer of tax again? Whilst we are saying the timing, people's business have collapsed now that they are trying to grow up. So why won't you allow business to grow? Then when they grow, you get your needed revenue. Coupled with that, recently, Bank of Ghana has also come to introduce a new rate, the policy rate, to about 29.5. So now commercial bank rate will be going up to about 35 to 40%.
Obviously.
Who will go and borrow from the bank at the rate of 45% or 40%?
But that was to curb inflation. I mean, we'll come to council.
No,
those measures by the Bank of Ghana
to curb inflation
was to help curb inflation, to mop up the system.
Do you have excess liquidity in the system? Let's ask ourselves.
Because inflation was rising. So obviously there was some form of liquidity.
Inflation has reduced from 54, now we are around 52.
But it is still high. Inflation for a country,
but it's better than now, from 54.
52%.
So if it's reducing, if you want to mop up liquidity, excess liquidity, and we are saying there's no excess liquidity in the system. People are looking for money to transact business, to do business. They are not getting. It's not excess.
But remember that we have come from a space of inflation below 20% in a very short period to hit about 54. And so if the Bank of Ghana is raising MPC rates,
yes,
and even prime rates and so on and so forth, to be able to mop up all this and retain investments also, it is a step in the right direction.
So how do businesses grow when the lending rate is high?
When investments are retained, when people or businesses, investors, and we are aware that a lot of, again, we come to Guta, large corporate institutions that deal in these retail businesses and even the wholesale for the beverages and some of these products that are listed here are expatriates. So they repatriate the monies or the dollars.
So are we targeting the expatriate? Is that what we are saying?
We are saying that
what we are saying is that let's move
from
taxation to production. That's what we are looking for.
But we are saying that there is a large chunk of these businesses owned by expatriates who repatriate their money. If you raise the MPC rate, you help them retain the money in the economy.
We are doing bias policy
to work.
But that's why we made a proposal that with the expatriate businesses, at least there must be some retention policy.
Exactly. So yes, I agree.
There must be some retention policy that when you make profit, you must retain some of your profit and reinvest into it so that you expand. And when you do that, what happens? We get more employment because you're going to expand your businesses. So if you come out with this retention policy, it will help rather than increasing, because what is going to happen now is that the few people who are in the net, they are going to carry on the same burden. So what are we going to do to widen the tax net? That's what we're looking for.
For me, even that's an argument even for you as Guta.
Yes.
To have support of government to grow your businesses, because we can't keep supporting expatriate businesses when they repatriate. So let me declare that in as much as I may support the Bank of Ghana, it is a case for you as Guta to be supported. I mean, entirely to grow your businesses.
Yes, because now the economy of Ghana are not in hands of Ghanaians, as it stands now. So if this expatriate leave the country, we are in doom. Because so what can we do to grow Ghanaian businesses? So when they take their bags and baggages and go, we can sustain the economy. But as it stands now, now trading sector are falling into the hands of foreigners. The mining sector are falling into the hands of foreigners. The service industry, the banking sector are in hands of foreigners. Communication industry are in hands of foreigners. So which area of the economy is being held by Ghanaians? This is the question you should ask yourself. So why can't you empower the Ghanaian? So there can be a bias policy. There are some restrictions. Every country does it. You know, Nigeria has a policy that is called prohibition list. They say whoever you are, you can be the president of America.
There are items you cannot
import.
Bring it. You cannot import.
That is it. But meanwhile,
we have those ones in the
WTO said trade liberalization, but every country has some trade restriction policies. You understand? So why?
And we are saying after.
You know,
we still have.
You see, and even with this coming of these taxes, it has defeated the purpose of AFTA, because our manufacturers cannot grow their business. They can't compete because raw materials are the same prices all over the world. If you are looking at iron ore or whatever, they are the same prices. But cost of borrowing in the country is higher than that of your competitor. So they are not competitive. That is why you can go and import from maybe Turkey a cable, come and pay the duty and pay all the taxes, and it's still cheaper than that which is produced here. Why is it so? Because our manufacturers are not competitive. Where we want to go to, we don't want to kill that industry. But some of us are in the trading industry, but at the end of it all, our end result, our vision is to go into production and manufacturing. So we should make sure that place is sustained. Just imagine, my brother, if all the products I'm looking for are in Ghana, why would I worry myself and go and sit in the air for 9 hours, 10 hours, and travel to Dubai, travel to Turkey, if I can get here to distribute? But our manufacturers themselves are complaining. Some of them are folding up. They are even going into trading. You see, these are the difficult situation we find ourselves in this recent time. That's why we are saying the timing is bad. I think this is the time where government should have come out with a deliberate policy to grow businesses. When we grow, then you can get your needed revenue. But now you are milking them so much so that now we are bleeding. It's like a cow. If you milk the cow so much, at the end of it, when the milk is finished, the only thing you find is blood.
You will still grow the cow. You will still feed the cow.
Not the cow.
But, let me come to you. So the Association of Ghana Industries has just sent me a statement, a press statement. I'm going to read that, but that will be after the break. I'm sure this is on the same topic that we are discussing. So, AG, I have your press release. I'll put that up when I come back from the break. But for now, let me come to you, Okansi Geoffrey. You were making some points, and he makes the same point that the structure of the economy is bad. It doesn't support development. And you were drawing us from where have we come from?
I gave you the signals.
Yes.
And the facts.
Yes.
And I also give you some of the negatives.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let me give you one positive. The excise the duty tax, however, presents an opportunity to place high taxes on same products. Because some of these same products actually, like he rightly said, they produce, yes. And they create jobs as well. But they also create mess.
He already said that these taxes for the same products are already high. For example, cigarettes, we know already.
Well, there are taxes on cigarette, alcohol, and sweetened beverages. But I'm saying that it leaves us with NCDs, non-communicable diseases. Vowed Vision for Alternative Development and RMA, Revenue Mobilization Africa, we've said that guided by the WHO research and World Bank researchers, 3 things automatically will happen. You generate some revenues. 2, you control the consumption of these sweetened beverages and then same products. And then 3, you get enough money to regulate, issues of some corrupt issues of illicit trades around that area. You also get these things done. But let me tell you what, I would like to be fair and get to all the impacts. I mean, for government, what impact will be, industry, the impact, citizens, the impact, and then for CSO, what impact it has on us. For government, they are looking at raising some 4 billion, as you rightly said. They also look at the option of actually, it's an alternate option of generating some revenues to actually look at, compared to borrowing, okay? This is a better option. compared to borrowing from outside and having increased interest on what is borrowed. For excise, like I told you, for the same products as well. And when we come to industry, it increases the operational cost, no doubt. I mean, for industry and traders, no doubt. They will pass it on to the consumers. That's another fact. And that means the price of their goods will go high, okay? And the services will go high. Automatically, this increase in prices would affect their sales. Sales reduces because it affects the purchasing power of their customers, and that the consumer is not able to buy more. What has also happens that once there's decreased sales, this may affect their operations. And what are some of the things they will do? They will actually have to cut down. And when they cut down, they have to cut down labor. They might even cut down on the size of their business. When operations reduces, their amount of tax they will pay to the same government will reduce. And once they cut down labor is not able to pay as you earn. So actually, there's another cutback effect actually there. When it comes to, it prevents industry from expanding. I mean, we're talking about expanding businesses and actually expanding our tax base. They'll shrink, actually. That's another fact, as I've said. But then when it comes to the citizens, you and I mean, including even the workers themselves, what happens? Consumers are affected by the high prices. I mean, because it's actually passed to us. It will affect our purchasing power, like I mentioned earlier on. It actually becomes, these are regressive taxes because everybody buys at an amount, and we are not equal, actually. Usually when we say that the increasing, this will increase the poverty gap, people only look at the gap between the rich and the middle income, and then the middle income against the poor. But between the poor, there are two gap areas also, between the poor and then extremely poor people. As we speak right now, because of some of these measures, most of the people from the middle income are dropping into the poor area. And some are dropping from the poor area to the extreme poverty belt. So these are the serious effects. Those who are in jobs are losing their jobs. So job seekers, they lose hopes. I mean, the unemployment figures will increase because we are producing graduates. Never forget that. And that means that those who are looking for jobs, when some are falling out, those who are coming on board, I mean, there's no chance for you, literally. Then it affects the ability to acquire essential services like water, electricity, you need education. All these things, once your purchasing power goes down, these essential services, you are not able to purchase them. Then it increases the tax burden, I mean, for the formal sector. Because, I mean, maybe the informal sector, unfortunately, maybe they can work around something and walk away from it. But for the formal sector, and those of you in the formal sector, I mean, it's actually taken away from your salary before it even reaches you. So you don't even have options of doing anything. For CSO, this is an opportunity to actually assess the economic situation against our predictions. For CSO, again, it is an opportunity to engage with industry, government, academia, and CSOs to look forward for solutions. It's an opportunity to share our research works that we've discussed with government again and again, and then undertake further research to ascertain the impact on how it affects, I mean, whatever group we decide, how it's affecting government, industry, and also the citizens. It is an opportunity for us as CSOs to organize a stakeholder forum. In the midst of all that is going on, we need a stakeholder forum to discuss what is the way forward. Impacts on industry, impact on government, impact on... Look, when you juxtapose the two, in our discussions, I agree with him about 80%. There's a place that I want him to accept also that, look, their product also causes some, mess in the system that we need to use syntaxes to clear and clean. So this is the way it affects all the four groups I have mentioned. Maybe the way forward we can discuss how we can manage it. Okay.
So I'm going to come back to that on the way forward. But I agree with most of the things you have said. And of course, from an economic point of view, poverty index will be changing here in the country. Income index obviously will be changing. Someone says, I'm trying to look for a text message somebody has just put up to us. So, Ayuni Elijah from Bolga, all the way from Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, says, I think these bills will increase unemployment rate and frustrate the youth. Awuni Elijah from Bolga says so.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree or...
But I've mentioned
yes.
You have.
It is.
I mean, for those who are in employment, he said that once production shrinks, one of the options to cut down costs is actually to get labor to cut off some of the staff.
But if government is going to rake in, and this is for the two of you,
right?
If government is going to rake in 4 billion,
right?
And government has institutions that are responsible for employment. Government is going to be able to fund these institutions to create further employment, to empower the private sector, for example, the SME, small and medium scale enterprises. The government is supporting, providing that conducive environment for them to be able to thrive. The 4 billion can go into that. You Start is a program of government. The Ghana Cares program is a program of government. All of these government needs money for. So yes, some sectors will be affected, but don't you agree that
brilliant insertion,
aggregately, unemployment will never.
It's one of maybe when I get the opportunity for the way forward.
Let me go on the break. You want to say?
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, government will get a revenue from that. We no doubt about that. We say government need revenue to develop, no doubt about that. But the point is, where do you get your revenue from? It's not the business community.
From the taxes.
From the business community. Where do you get the taxes from?
From the business community.
Exactly. So what do you do to the business community? Let them grow. Help them to grow. When they grow, then you can get the needed taxes. But at this point in time, when they are shrinking and they are not growing, where are you going to get the needed tax to do your LEAP program and all this?
I don't have to.
I hope we also go with him on one of the things he's questioning. I mean, it also doesn't mean that all businesses shrink. I mean, COVID happened.
Yes, some businesses
and some businesses thrived.
Exactly.
Okay, so for like what you've rightly said, we see a lot of you in the business play sector will be passing on your operational costs.
Recently, I traveled
to the consumer.
Yeah, I traveled recently. I'm not cutting you down. I traveled recently, and then I went to a shipper's place, and if you look at the volume of cars that are there, Ghanaians have bought all those cars, but they are not ready to bring them down. You know why? Because the cost of duty at the port on one vehicle, just a Corolla car, you are paying over 52,000 Ghana cedis, just a Toyota Corolla. And that, who is going to bring that car, pay duty 50. So we are going to sell Corolla over 100,000. So that is why government is losing huge. We all know that government, about 70% of this revenue is coming from the port.
But there's one thing I love about what you said just now, that the taxes on the imports.
Yes.
I would want to also ask you that once you want to expand your production base, one of the focus that we need to do is actually to industrialize, okay?
Exactly.
And ensure that we expand businesses in Ghana, get to an extent where what we can do better and what we can grow better and what we can add values to better, we do that one.
Exactly.
And export so that Guta will stop importing. I look at a Guta where we import some of the goods, but I want, like basic economics tells us, when we are exporting more and importing less, you and I know the benefit.
Yeah, the trade.
And let me even come in with it. But just before I do that, let me announce that I was going to go on a break and allow to be able to read the AGI statement. But let me announce that, please, it's a WhatsApp. That's why we have the WhatsApp logo on the screen there. There are too many people calling. Please just send in your message and don't call. We understand that you want to have the opportunity to express yourself, express your feelings. But please do well to send in messages instead of the calls. Too many people calling. So please, the Guta PRO is not telling us the truth. They supported the current government. Even though he knows that the opposition voted against taxes bills, he said they are part of those who supported the passing of the tax bills. He should be objective. Adams, Pukwasi sent in that one. He sent
I said Parliament.
Too. Exactly. That
I said Parliament.
He said Parliament.
Yes, it's
and
Parliament.
So,
whether it's opposition or it's Parliament.
I'm sure Adams wants that's necessary. But Adams, this is a business platform. We don't do politics. So once it is Parliament, it is Parliament. Your message is well acknowledged, though. I was saying that when government gets the money and constructs the Fufusu Solar Road, constructs the Wat to Bolga Road, it makes these roads more trouble and businesses can still grow. When you make your productions in the north, somewhere in the upper west, you're able to transport easily to the upper east.
If you're perfectly, you've said it right. And we're all looking for that. But we say there are other alternative ways of generating revenue. Look, let's consider the leakages. And let's consider those free zones area. Let's consider the exemption, the huge exemptions we have been given. Let's consider the bonded warehouses, that there are leakages. Just look at those areas. What can we do to widen the tax net? Because I can assure you, like I said earlier on, the same group of people who are already in the net are the same. Recently, we went to, when the vice president went and launched the clearance for the tax clearance certificate, the electronic one, the electronic, we went to introduce. And know what the vice president said? He said, GRA, what are you going to do to widen the tax net? That is one of our challenges and difficulty. When you widen the tax net, the normal mathematics we did in school, if more, let's divide. So if there are a lot of people in the system, in the net, then we divide amongst ourselves, but the same 15 or the 30% of people who are already in the net are going to suffer this increase that is coming on board. So these are some of the areas we are looking for. If we're able to curtail these exemptions that we begin, these huge exemptions that people can afford. My brother, if you hear some of the exemptions that they're going to these multinationals, you have no idea. You see, meanwhile they can afford. You see, we are looking at the bonded warehouse that there are leakages. People will go and put their goods in the bonded warehouse and then find ways and means to get them to the market without paying taxes on them. Let's look at those areas. What can we do to seal the leakages? When we are able to do that, all this money we are looking for, we can get it easily. Rather than bringing more, this is the easiest way government always want to go. But let's go the difficult way. Let's do. If I made a proposal, those bonded warehouses, as I'm talking to you now, I can just pick my phone and whatever is happening in my house, I know.
Somebody says that you make more money when taxes are introduced because the margin by which you increase, and you always transfer it to the consumer anyway.
But the margin by consumers.
But the margin by which you increase is even higher than the
we are all, because we are going to run out of business. Just, you know how the exchange rate stands now? Exchange rate is almost about 12.5.
I was learning about deadweight laws in economics, and somebody said to me that there is nothing that exists like deadweight laws. It all goes to the producer.
Exactly,
the consumer. And take that money.
Yeah, it also goes to the final consumer. But don't.
Yes, they give the burden to the consumer and make that profit.
Let's be fair to them. They are also consumers.
Yeah, we are also consumers.
anyway, but let me come to you on the way forward. He made a case about the bonded warehouse and so on and so forth. But let me pick you on the.
So moving forward, you see, to make sure that we do not add on more taxes, we do not find ourselves in debt, distress, and then further going down. One, we need to cut down expenditure drastically. Merge some of the ministries, like the Ministry of Information and Ministry of Communication. You can merge them. Ministry of Railways and Aviation, you can merge them. Ministry of Fisheries and Ministry of Agric, you can merge them and cut down on other expenditures and duplications that are in the system. Two, we need to halt, reverse, and work to reduce as we target against corruption. I mean, look, let's plug the holes, recoup the monies. You see, when the people have stolen from the state and they come and face the Public Account Committee, what do we do next? You and I, as we sit in this studio, we should be interested in ensuring that they recoup the monies from the people and even punish them. You are here. You see in Europe, when some of the footballers just escape and evade tax, what they go through, you pay more. And that's punitive enough. Look, let's not motivate offenders by transferring them. You know, some of the measures that have been applied is to transfer the officers who actually perpetuate these crimes against the state.
Exactly.
And I don't see the punitive. Look, the transfers must be in place rather as a measure to prevent its happening so that you don't leave the officers at one post for long so that they can, familiarity breeds contempt. So you have to move them. That is when you are preventing. But when they have committed the crime, it is not an option to just transfer them. Are you saying that they should leave Accra and go and perpetuate it in the next region? So the next one is also to improve collection while applauding the GRA for the innovations in digitizing the platforms. Yep. It is important to ensure that they also introduce relationship officers, which is also good. But it is important to use these operations to also capture other people into the net. I've always said the night and dawn economy. I mentioned it over here. Yeah. I keep mentioning it. Some people do business at dawn.
The people on the La Paz street, when it's 6 p.m. in the evening.
You are such an angel. You've given me the point. People, from 6 p.m., people are doing business. And that's when the GRA is closed. Look, the woman that cuts goods, when we say people are cutting goods like foodstuffs and from the villages, people think we are talking about 1,000 cities. No. Some of them cut in big trucks. That's about 40,000, 50, and 60,000 Ghana cedis. And when they come, they distribute to the small vehicles. By 4 a.m., they are done distributing. And that is when their business has ended. So they actually may be avoiding taxes, or you can say they are avoiding taxes. But then that is when they do their business. So if you are there to collect, that is a positive for you. Let's ensure that the GRA themselves accelerate efforts at collecting the rent taxes. Look, the president himself said that the cost of renting buildings in East Legon and other parts are expensive than buying buildings in America. That should tell you that we are losing huge amounts of rent taxes in that arena. Property rates, the GRA should work with the assemblies, as they have started, and ensure that we collect all these property rates. And then also into some sectors like the construction sector. When we talk about a carpenter or a skilled worker like tilers, people think we are talking about maybe the tiler who came to do the afonaka in your house. No. We are talking about people who go for huge contracts. Look, one roofing contract can be like 40 or 50,000 cedis. If he gets about 3 of these contracts, that is huge money. Okay, so if it's about 150,000 cedis for about 3 or 4 months, how many government workers get this amount of money? But he's in the informal sector. How do you collect this one? Someone will ask me. The GRA should work with the assemblies. When you are going for the building permit, work it out. The contractor should be able to put all the skilled workers on that permit requirement and ensure that these people pay their taxes. Now, let's move down. Let's cut down on granting exemptions, like my brother mentioned. Look, the one-time granting of exemptions. For me personally, my friends know and my colleagues know where I stand on exemptions. I don't support exemptions in any way because I look at the 3 approaches. Look, let's go to the table of foreign direct investment with 3 things. We have security in this country. Let's use security. Let's use the quality of our raw materials and availability of labor to lure people to come here and invest in this country. Because let me tell you what, as we said this evening, I'm not sure you want to go and invest in Ukraine because of the war situation over there. But we have security. We have quality raw materials. Our gold, when compared to other countries' gold, we have quality gold. We have labor, people who are ready to work. Well, there is a group that I call the unemployable youth. Anyway, that's for another discussion, another day. They are not ready to work anyway. But then we have to.
I think they've been turned into the Ghana Skills something youth.
No. I have this group that I investigated.
Currently?
Yeah. When you got, I call them unemployable youth because when you go to tag these ones, they get the opportunity to work and they change jobs fluctuatingly. I mean, they just change job. Some of them, sardonically, do not even calculate well. They have a job, maybe they live in Osu, they have a job in Labadi, and it's paying them 1,000 cedis. They hear of another job in, let's say, Tema or Pram, paying 1,300 cedis. And they see the 300 cedis difference, and they move to that job.
What about the transportation?
They don't get it. And so let's have the president pass the bill, the exemptions bill into law. That's a very important thing. And then let's expand the tax base by providing support to the local industry to include loans, reliefs, and exemptions. But these exemptions should target industrial operators
machinery,
who actually they are actually tapping about 80% or 70% of their raw materials from in-country. Because I'm not giving free money. I'll give you my free exemptions, but I want you to tap about 80% of your raw materials in the country and accelerate the skills training. While finally, I'll look at, just the final one. I'll look at promoting transparency and accountability. One of the biggest problems we've had with tax compliance is people keep asking, what are they using the money they've collected for? Let's make the process transparent and ensure people understand. Look, for example, in the church place, nobody's saying the church pastor will steal the money. But after Kofi and Amma, what do you see people do? Accountability. And that's important. And finally, let's remove these taxes when they've served their purpose, or they'll become nuisance taxes. Some of the taxes on the petroleum products, people have been calling over time. Let's see if there's a possibility that when we move forward and we gain the monies, we can come out.
Kindly indulge me to read the AGI statement. And I have, I think, 1 or 2 text messages for you, and I'll bring it back. So AGI says, expresses disappointment over passage of new revenue bills. And this is from the Association of Ghana Industries. The Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, wishes to register its, so the statement is on the screen, register its disappointment at the passage of the 3 revenue bills, excise duty, growth and sustainability levy, and income amendment bills by Parliament. Coming on the heels of an already harsh business climate, the passage of these bills poses very dire consequences for industry. We continue to experience a tax regime That does not motivate local production and formal business operations. We denounce the lack of stakeholder consultations on such fiscal policies, which have negative impact on businesses. AGI took steps to make input into the bills, and it's obvious that our submissions did not receive the consideration we expected. Indeed, local industries are already under severe pressure from several headwinds, including inflation currently at 52%, VAT shot up to 15%, resultant effect of 21.9%, water tariff increments at about 172% for the beverage sector, electricity tariff currently at 29.9% for industry, policy rate at 29.5%, making cost of credit exorbitant, increase in residual fuel oil RFO, price due to government subsidy withdrawal, an unstable foreign exchange regime, levies, and taxes on imported raw materials totaling about 50%. Electricity tariff shot up significantly on 2 occasions, totaling a whopping 56.5% within a period of less than 6 months. How could our beverage sector absorb water tariff increment of over 300% in a single tariff review, and now excise duty slapped on locally produced beverages? Contrary to government's ambitious revenue projection, which largely hinges on the performance of the industry, we foresee a contraction of manufacturing and other related business activities. Businesses may have no option than to cut down on expenditure and production levels to stay within budget. With the foregoing, government risks missing its revenue target if industry has to contend with these new taxes. While we reckon that government needs revenue, fiscal prudence is crucial. We appreciate the urgent need of the IMF measures, but this should not be at the expense of growth in our industrial sector. Indeed, it is in the mutual interest of industry and government to sustain agriculture and industrial sectors which hold the key to job creation. We call on government to engage AGI on measures to incentivize our local industries to forestall the negative consequences of these policies. To this end, we welcome the opportunity to dialogue with government on how to save jobs and the strategic options to explore in cushioning our local industries. AGI wishes to assure its members that the association will continue to engage government on such fiscal policies to bring positive reviews in subsequent national.
He said everything.
This is exactly your statement that you have been making.
Yeah, exactly.
But you could have done this before the bills were passed. The bills were laid before Parliament.
Yeah,
minimum of 21 days.
We wrote to Select Committee on Trade in Parliament. We copied the Speaker of Parliament. We copied the Finance Ministry. We've done all this. We've written to them. And he said it right. Stakeholder engagement was not there. Because just imagine the number of stakeholders that are kicking against this policy. Once upon a time, they came to us that they have a challenge in the economy and then they needed some revenue. So they were going to put some special levy, 2% on importation. We agreed because there was a stakeholder arrangement and the engagement. So this one, there's no engagement, such engagement. There was no stakeholder.
Because if you listen to the statement, I think he said the government did not take on board a lot of the inputs they made. So
yeah, maybe AGI, maybe they wrote to AGI, but I'm talking about the stakeholders, because Chamber of Mines are complaining. Chamber of Commerce is also saying the same thing.
But the complaints.
Huta is also complaining the same.
I don't know if the complaints could also come as a result of maybe their inputs
that were not
adopted
into it. Yeah, fine.
And if you're not going to take their inputs, why do you engage?
Yes.
Well, so you see, I was even coming to caution the both of you on my realization and study of the word engagement and consultation in this our country. It's been over time that people are being engaged and told what was going to happen, rather than a discussion where
you are being informed. Rather than being asked to bring your input.
You said me again. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to say. I mean, to inform people about what is going to be happening.
You know, once upon a time, when the late Banredu was there, right. Yes, right. He came to us. He said, you know, I think he was a finance minister, and he came to us. He said, training community.
He was a finance minister.
I needed money. And then the informal sector, I want something a little from you. What can we do?
Right.
Then we said, you are not paying VAT. You are not registered with VAT. This 15%. So we are not. even with abreast with input output. How many of our people understand input output? Right. Then he sat down and took a pen and paper and chalk and he bring a blackboard and he was doing the calculation. He said, in between input and output, there's a percentage of 5%. And we said, okay, so let's do a flat rate for you, pay 4%. And we argued on it, so let's make it 3%. So that everybody, when you sell 100 Ghana cedis a day in the market, 3% of every class 1 teacher can come and help you out. And so we made
an input. You were happy with that?
We went along with it because we made an input into such a policy. And it rolled out well, and they got a needed revenue from that. So that is how good governance is like you are saying.
Consultation right there.
Yes.
My time is actually up, but let me try and be able to read at least one or two messages. And basically, economics is about demand and supply. Both macro and microeconomics is to strike for equilibrium. All variables are interrelated. All this talk is meaningless. Just get back to the basics. You didn't add your name. You continue to say companies are collapsing, yet they are still increasing taxes. As at now, Aluworks Limited has been shut down. Over 450 workers are unemployed now.
Yes.
Do you know about that?
Yeah, I heard about that. You see, not only Aluworks, most of our guys. I have a guy who used to manufacture nails, the one we used to roofing. He's closed down the company.
The business community is rather milking consumers already. They should tax them. Abu Wa says that. Good evening, Mr. Speaker and your panelists. In 2016, this current incompetent government was saying that if they come to power, they will remove Ghanaians' taxation to production. Now they are passing new taxes. 2024, well, you want to greet Tamale North constituency MP, Honorable Suhini. The rest is politics. This is a business platform. Thank you very much. Ima, the man on your left makes great points. Yes, he keeps laughing and smiling. Why? This is a daring matter. Please tell him to frown, cry. We want him to frown to government.
Oh, I should frown?
Yes, because the matter is crazy.
Yeah. I don't want to get hypertension, so let me laugh over it.
Sent in that one. I don't want to be political, but it seems this government haven't gotten enough of our suffering as Ghanaians and want us to suffer the more with these taxes. God bless Mother Ghana. Elijah Sumbrungu sent in that one. I'm enjoying your discussions, especially the man wearing black. The biggest problem of this current government is lack of consultations. Cornelius, fine boy, Kata in La Paz sent in that one. Let me give you 1 minute each on your final words. I mean, everything that's happening, what are we going to do with these bills? Yeah. And for you as a business.